Welcome to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Today is Friday, November the 28th, 2025. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Melissa. And welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Delighted and honored that you're here. And we haven't heard from you in a while, Melissa. Welcome. Glad you're here. Enjoyed having the conversation we had this morning. And Joseph, you doing this A thing? I don't get it. Tell me what that's about. What's going on?
Well, I don't. What do you mean? That's you. That's your background. You know what that means. That's Canadian. Hey, isn't that Canadian? Hey.
Well, they do spell it that way. It is spelled C-A-N-A-D-A. That's true. But what's? I don't know.
What? I spelled Canada wrong?
No, that's how it's spelled.
Oh, I didn't know what. I'm confused now, but that's okay. Confusion is good.
It's a good state to be in. Yeah, it's a very high state.
That's right.
So, how has your landing been since the intensive?
It's been wonderful. Really has. I just some real good clarity, feeling good. And I guess, I really look forward to, and I know you're moving in that direction, to the AI version, whereby, you can, or I have been on this thing called Ash, and you can actually have a conversation. And it's very revealing or very enlightening for me anyhow, in terms of, speaking about the intensive or whatever the topic may be. So when you guys, get all that stuff uploaded in there, and then I don't know what these things cost either, but once you have the software to be able to have a conversation with Mindshifters AI would be fascinating.
Well, actually, last night I spent about 3 hours uploading stuff, and they call it creating a clone. And once the clone is created, and right now we've probably got, I don't know, probably 20 hours of workshops up, and basically you put the workshops up in AI and it transcribes it all and puts it all in a database. I've got the book. I've got just a lot of the writing material. And once this is set up and we get it inserted into, and as you say, I don't know what ultimately this is going to cost. We're just doing it as we got the funds to do it. But we're going to put both Jeannie's voice and my voice into the app. So right from the app, you'll be able to hit a button and ask Jeanie any question about her book or the work she's developed, what she's doing, what she's done. And you can carry on a 3-hour conversation with her, or you'll be able to carry on a 3-hour conversation with me. And it'll sound like my voice. And your prompt, your question, whether it's, how do we do the breath work? Or, well, actually, I just thought of that because I put the StillPoint breathing stuff in, but we don't want to be guiding people without live support. So I'm going to have to put an inhibitor on that one. But otherwise, you can ask any question about any step in the worksheet. It'll be just a conversation like we're having right now. And if someone was listening in and didn't know, they would think it was a live conversation, because all of that data, all of that information, ultimately, everything, our whole 20,000 page website. Jeannie's actually working today on, we've got 89 hours of the Codependence intensive, which you've been through. So she's working on, she's got to download all of those and then upload them to AI. And AI will have that whole conversation, everything we've done, available for the conversation. So it's pretty amazing technology. And I don't know whether you've been on a call or a show or in a workshop where I've talked about when I originally wrote Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and Warner Books wanted it. Yep. Have you heard me share that?
No. Maybe you did, but go again.
Well, when I wrote Why Is This Happening to Me Again in 1995, 1996, Jim Redfield was a student of mine. That's where the Aramaic came from in his book, Celestine Prophecy, which was his second best-selling book in the world in 1995.
I
And
remember.
Jim took Why Is This Happening to Me Again to his editor at Warner. And his editor called me and said, Michael, your time has come. We want your book. And it's like, man, I was through the roof. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I
And
remember he did the forward for your book.
yeah, he did the forward for my book. Yes.
Nice.
And I went into a meditation, I don't know, it was a day or two later, and I was shown a picture of the blue planet from space, like, the Earth.
Yeah.
And what I was told, literally, and now I would put it in different terms, realizing that when we collapse perception, we're actually gathering information from the actuality which has been hidden from us. So what was revealed to me was, I heard was, Michael, if you go with Warner Books, and it showed me a picture of the blue planet with a big spike coming out the top of it. Said, that's going to become noticeable, and it's going to be knocked down, and that'll be the end of it. Don't do
Huh.
it. I was like, what? It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
I got it. And it showed a second picture, and in the second picture, there was a thin layer all around the planet. And all of a sudden, that thin layer grew instantaneously to the size of the spike, and nobody could do anything about it.
Wow.
So here's what AI is going to be able to do now. It's going to be able to take everything we've done in 60 years, 20,000 page website, all of our videos, all of our audios, all of the writing, put it into the database, set up non-local websites. And non-local means that once this is set up, there are nodes around the world, and non-central database centers. So it isn't stored in, like, our IP, our provider today stores our website. If somebody came along and said, we're going to get rid of you, they could shut that down and be gone. Once it's set up in this non-central database, nobody can edit it, nobody can delete it, and it's guaranteed to be up for a minimum of 200 years.
Wow.
And once it's in English, then AI will be able to translate it into virtually every language on the planet and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And in a way that I never could have imagined in 1995 when I had that vision, here's the thin layer grown to the size of the spike, and it cannot be censored, it cannot be deleted by anybody.
Right.
So, like, okay, it's like, who could have imagined that, a quarter of a century ago, and now that's what we've got. So it's pretty cool, pretty exciting. And as I say, I spent about 3 hours last night just uploading articles and data, and you're familiar with the poster on the functioning of the mind with the filters and such. So that was one of the things I uploaded. So I upload that, it looks at that, and then it writes a whole 4-page article on that page, detailing every piece of it. Okay, here it is. Now, what do you want us to do with this next? I mean, it's just amazing.
That's great.
So, pretty cool.
Very much so. I find that just having that conversation with this AI is, the feedback. I mean, you can, like you said, you can choose whose voice you hear, whether it's male, female, or, has an accent or not. It's it made me feel comfortable. It was like, oh, okay, all right, so let's, and one of those, not that you're necessarily in a private situation, but if it's just me and like I'm doing right now, it's just me and my phone, then I can say anything and see what it says for feedback.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's nice to hear, and I don't know, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that I don't know if I shared with you or not, but I'm amazed that I can now drive my car when I'm driving at night. My high beams come on and off automatically. My
Right.
car lights. It's it's really neat. So
Yeah, it's amazing what it's able to do.
yeah, it's just I really look forward to more of that kind of thing, and certainly when you can't, if you're with someone and both of you, if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer to, the answer or answers can be much more readily available, and you can and then have so the discussion doesn't have to end. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, just turkey sandwiches. I think it's time for another one right now. Probably a little turkey sandwich, little salt and pepper. How was yours? Did you guys have a nice family gathering?
We had a big family gathering. Yeah, it was very sweet.
Good. That's good.
Very sweet.
Do you guys miss me at all, or no?
Not in the least. No.
Not
We don't do miss it. That's just not a structure. That's one of the things when my kids were small and, with we don't brainwash them to create this reality structure of missing somebody.
Yeah.
Like, we see them and, oh, isn't that wonderful? And, what is an adult conveying to a child when they offer, did you miss me? What kind of reality? I mean, seriously, what kind of reality does that put into a child's mind? What kind of structure does it create in the mind? And to me, it's a big silly.
Well, and that's really if I look in the mirror, that's really one of the messages I get is I'm just a big silly. So what are you going to do?
Hey, go for it.
Hey, I'm just glad Jeannie's foot sounds like it's coming around nicely.
Hey, she's jumping around. She's almost dancing. Not quite, but almost.
Wow.
Almost dancing.
I look forward to that dance. Dang.
Yeah. So do I.
Yeah. So other than that, let's see. I guess everybody, from what I saw, everybody got home safe, and that's a good thing. I missed the codependency class, but that was just a timing issue.
Right.
So
I'll be doing it again on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. 4:00 Sunday Eastern time.
4:00 Sunday Eastern time. Yes.
Ruby. All right, sir. Talk to you.
All right. Lots of blessings. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And how does everybody else be? What's exciting in your world?
I'll share. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
go for it, young lady.
I'm in my house code, everybody, but I'm still coming on video. It
Cool.
was oh my gosh, Michael, the processing continues in a big way all around since
You're not finished yet?
it's on, oh my gosh, like it's going to the deepest layers. After Joe, I know you weren't there on the codependency class on Wednesday, but found a course layer and drilled into that. And I found a core wound. And so I want to give language to it. So this whole abandonment around not being held emotionally by my mother. And then also I didn't realize the power person dynamic I had going on with my oldest brother, and his name was Peter. And we talked a bit about that and, how he was disgusted as, and he used to say really mean things like you were such an ugly baby and all that stuff, right? For whatever his reason was. At 18 is when I was born, when he was 18. But I saw...
Sounds like a lot of hurt.
Yeah. I saw two things. One, after the work of how that energy that I hold in the world of being disgusted by the world, that's just was radiating out when I get an irritation. So I just took on that energy. And then the piece of, not being held emotionally. And then also seeing how I showed up that way by not being there emotionally for Alexander, and also not being there emotionally for friendships, and not being there emotionally for Duncan.
Mm,
And like, wow, wow, wow. And core wound, and then also seeking relationships where they're not emotionally available.
understood.
Like, oh my
Well,
God. Like, what a beautiful revelation. Like, I was like, holy moly, that blockage of
holy
truth.
moly. There it is. That's a real
Holy
holy moly.
moly. To bring that blockage of truth could come right into this reality filter, this screen of my reality that I've been creating it all. Just brilliant. And yesterday I went to a shiatsu massage therapist here in town who's absolutely amazing. I've been going to her. I cried like I've never cried. I've cried a lot, as you guys know, but the
Mm,
depth of the tears that were released, it went to an absolute core wound. The core wound, like I could feel that just going right to drop me to my knees, metaphorically, of course.
I got it.
So, wow. So thanks to everybody that participated at the 9-day intensive and then all the magic that happened after that. And to get to this place that I could see myself so clearly. Yeah.
Well, my offering, and I think I've shared this with you pretty much before, but for everybody that's listening, is that not only are we designed to be held in that space, my take, and it's something I'm going to go back to work on. I actually started developing it about 40 years ago, and life, it's about the point I went on the road, started traveling, was not just spending time in South Florida where I had regular classes and such, but started travel as I'd started a process that at that time I called matrix therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic thesis was that just like a plant, when it goes in the ground, if there is a healthy water supply, if the soil is healthy, that is, it has all the nutrients and microorganisms that are designed to be in it are there, and it has sunshine, then the plant naturally grows and flowers. Just nothing stops, it just does it. However, if you go in and take one of those factors away, then that plant is going to be somehow stunted and not fulfill what it's designed for. And in exactly the same way, my take is that we are designed to be held through our developmental process in the womb by the presence of love.
Mm-hmm.
An environment that is surrounded with individuals who bring their own, and you kind of equate it, nutritional contribution to that womb. That is, each person has its own. You think about a particular person, and there's a quality of being there, a quality of love that is unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
And another person has a quality of love, but it is different and unique to them. And another person, and my take is that we're designed then when we come out of the womb to be held in the presence of that love, not turned upside down and held by our feet and have our spine snap straight after it's been in this curved position for several months in a very cramped, crowded place, and brought into a place where the temperature drops 30 degrees. We're designed to be held by, and each person that we meet, literally, we're designed to receive the nutrient of their presence as the factors that allow us to naturally grow and flower. And if those things are missing, then there are holes in our process, And to me, the whole basis of this work is to, of course, one, remove everything that never belonged, the hostility and fear-based presences that we could call them in this metaphor of the plant, anti-nutrients, to remove those anti-nutrients, and then using the imagination. And you can go back and imagine the presence because behind each person who brought us hostility or fear, there's still that presence of being. Even if they've lost it, even if they have no idea, have never touched it in their whole lives, it's still there. And we can, through the faculty of imagination, bring that nutrient in, bring that presence in. And as we do, contribute all that we were designed to be receiving the whole time. And that naturally brings us to this fulfilled state that we call human life. That's my take.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then it just, when you're in your speaking, that reminded me of what Dr. Tim said. You know, there's a window from 0 to 6 when it's our environment that is intended to provide those nutrients that you talk about. And then if that doesn't happen, then the window gets locked, but it's never too late. And I realize now that I now am going back to give it to myself. And it really landed yesterday that and I want to give language to this because it's new, that I get to hold myself in my presence, no matter what comes into my reality. And that really landed. Like, yes, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's me holding me.
Yes.
No matter what comes up. And I don't collapse into this state of emotional immaturity, because those patterns as a child where I was in emotional immaturity, no one held me through my big upsets. I had to figure it out on my own. And then, the psyche then fractals off, and because it's in depth of wounding and things. But yeah, that was to now being able to know no matter. And then even yesterday with having to face that the depth of my abandonment issue about not having someone hold me emotionally, and then, physically, all that stuff too, but so abandonment. But I was able to hold myself in the presence of that. And it was, and then it's going to be okay. I got me. That's, I got me. So I want to say to everybody here or going to listen on the call, when that's the journey to come home to ourselves and being true being and to be whole, to come home to me loving me. That's the whole game. And I'm there.
You experiencing yourself as the love that you are?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
And
bingo.
And you can go back with those people that you weren't able to do it with because you didn't have it to offer, and use that same faculty of imagination to offer to them. And that faculty of imagination is so important and so powerful. I actually have been thinking about doing an intensive on that topic. When I was doing some research for the Intuitive Development Intensive, I came across some of the writing of Einstein. And he talked, Einstein was a German Jew who had no laboratory, who had no funding. He did not prove any of his own experiments in those early days, or his own thesis, E equals MC square, is something he made up through his imagination.
Yeah.
And years later, other physicists proved it in the laboratory that he didn't have. And so using this faculty in the same vein of developing the intuitive faculty of being able to go to the actuality directly, and then with this imaginative faculty, another faculty of the breath, another faculty of being, to be able to reform, reimagine, and tap into the energetic patterns that we're missing and bring them in is part of our ability when we realize it.
Yeah, for sure. And I loved about him, like, he didn't learn to speak till after 4 years old.
Right.
And he also, obviously playing violin, he was very much in the realm of music. So it appears based on reading about him that he developed this right side faculty of his intuitive nature. The feminine aspect of his nature was able to be, cultivated before language came in. And then
music
once
was
the
his
language
muse.
came in.
Music was his muse. He said that was part of what accompanied his imagination and being able to tap into the actuality in the way that he did, and do things that most scientists are still totally and completely blown away about.
Exactly. And then even when we did the toning at the intensive, the frequency of that toning through sound and how it took us into higher states of consciousness, and the linkages that were happening not only within each individual but also the collective resonance within the group. I thought was
Yes.
really profound. All music, all sound. So all good. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because that's a huge epiphany. So I'm excited what will be the result of that, and going into that new level of vitality. And it was oh boy, did I go into deep process of tears yesterday. But yeah, I feel it happened yesterday morning, and I was out of it by last night.
Nice work.
Normally that's not the case, right? I would be ruminating in that probably for days, that type of episode, easily for days. And I mean, I was in and out in what, 20 to 14 hours.
And you're getting the fruits of your labors.
Yes.
You've been spending time in the gym of the mind doing your work. And I can remember back in the early days of doing this work, and I kind of created as I went because there wasn't really anywhere to go to find it, to understand it. And I can remember things would come up and it might take days to go through. And then in later years, after having been in the practice, I could have things that were much, much more significant and do 2 or 3 of those in a day.
Yeah.
So it definitely gets easier as you take the time to develop the skills. And so.
And yeah, so it's
Awesome.
awesome. And then other things are dropping in around, which won't go into, but about my purpose and my path, all around the monadic structure of the source. And oh my God, it's getting really clear, which I had inklings along the way of the path, but it is coming really clear. And even Bill Phillips, who in Atlanta, he sent me a whole big long post around the polarities of the masculine and the feminine and ley lines. And I'm like, okay, right on time. So you
Cool.
can't, again, the clues are showing up fast and furious now.
Awesome.
So,
Well, all the world rejoices for each one who
yay.
steps in and increases the field of being and of truth, because it makes it more accessible to every other mind, heart, and being on the planet. So thank you for doing your work.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, just wanted to
Cool.
share that with everybody. Yay.
Awesome. Any other thoughts for you?
No,
Okay,
I feel
you're good.
I feel good. I feel complete. And yeah,
Great.
it's nice to hear Joe's voice. And I was talking to Andrea this morning. I guess I do have another thought because Andrea was saying, because the depth of connection that she felt there, it was amazing how we all bonded. And coming home, there's a little bit, she's feeling a little bit of a sorrow around that. So I got to chat with her this morning on that. I'm surprised she's not on the call.
Well, where is the girl? She's not with us.
Yeah, I don't know. She was on her when we got a chance. We chatted for about an hour this morning. So that's why I didn't have a shower and just showed up in my house coat. So
cool.
But
looks like a cool cup you got in your hand.
Yeah, my little love. And then love is, do you see that? Love wins.
Hey, there you go.
The colors of the chakras. Yeah.
The first one to smile always wins.
Yeah, exactly. So all good.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, blessings. And Miss Susan B., welcome, young lady. How was your holy day?
Oh, it was great. Thank you. And yours sounded good too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very nice. We had babies and relatives. We have an in-law. Well, I'm not even sure what you call him, but anyway, about 3 blocks from us has a nice big house, and so everybody kind of descends on his house for holidays, and so we had a sweet afternoon gathering, and everybody brings a dish or two, and so we were overstuffed and ate leftovers for breakfast.
Yep.
Cool. Well, anything exciting happening in your world?
That's a hard question to answer because in a way I feel like a new person. So everything's exciting.
Oh, tell us what's new.
I can't put it into words. I have no idea. It's very different being the age I am and seeing things. Things are changing very fast. Our family had a Zoom gathering last night at 6 because so many of us are so far flung. And all of the people who were sort of running the show and young have gotten up into their 80s, up into their deep 80s in one case. And the young ones who were babies a minute ago are all getting careers and they look so great. And I'm thinking, wait a minute now, what's happening here? It's gorgeous, but my mind is blown to smithereens. That's all.
Yeah, how quickly it happens is amazing.
Yeah.
We look at you guys have gotten to raise Aria with us, and
Right.
she's now 7 and very prim and proper, and just so cute and so creative, and well,
Yeah.
it's just looking at it. I mean, the girl is halfway to dating age almost. So
Yeah. And then she'll have some babies and you'll
whoa.
have a whole nother pile of people. It's just a lot to, I'm not trying to think about it much, just feel it. I feel as if my spectrum goes all the way from complete mind blowing on one end to complete mind blow on the other end, with all the feelings in between.
Right.
So I don't know what to say, Michael.
I hear you.
I'm loving working on Jeannie's book, though.
Sweet. Well, she is certainly loving the feedback that she's getting. She's been talking to everybody about it and really receiving it and appreciating it. So
Well,
I'm certainly there with appreciation for the gift you're giving her of that feedback and that edit expertise.
It's a way of getting to know Jeannie and having the work applied through Jeannie's eyes. And I do have one big question, but I don't know if it's appropriate for the radio show. I've been harassing Jeannie about it, but maybe at some point we can have a phone talk. One part of the wake-up sheet, I think, needs a big tweak. That's my opinion.
Well, that's what we're here for. Let's go for it. Bring everybody into the conversation.
Oh, well.
I mean, it's for everybody. And your question or your comment may be just refinement that I need or somebody else needs in understanding it at the next level. So please.
So there's Jeannie. I see your face is showing. Jeannie, I think, knows what I'm going to ask.
You going to give permission, Jeannie?
Sure, go for it.
Well, Jeannie, do you have it in front of you, the part where I, Jeannie, who am love, and then you name your carbon-based memory as your trigger?
Right.
And I'm arguing that the carbon-based memory does kick in right then, but it is triggered by something outside, and you're using your carbon-based memory as the trigger.
Right.
And the reason I thought that wasn't really where it was is because further down in your wake-up sheets, you finally do name a trigger. It's often your first husband, or it's some event or something. And I know you're trying to wrestle your CBM into shape, but I don't understand how the CBM itself could be the trigger. It's something else that triggers the CBM into forming its perceptions, which are not actuality. Did that make sense?
Well, I actually have before I start doing the worksheets in the book, and I give a layout of step 1, 2, 3, all the way through 7.
Yeah.
And under 2, under number 1, let me go back a page. I say, step 1 names the object of attention, the significant influence or trigger, which can even be your own carbon-based memory self. And then I have an asterisk. And then when you go to the bottom of step 7, I put the note with the asterisk on carbon-based memory self, CBM, as the object of attention. Throughout these worksheets, I sometimes refer to the CBM self as the object of attention. This term stands for carbon-based memory, which I define as the false self, the cumulative, inherited, multi-generational database of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. The carbon-based memory self is not the true self. And then I explain what the true self is. But, we've talked about this a couple of times on the radio show just here lately even, that you can do a worksheet on yourself. And the easiest way to differentiate is to look at it as if you're two people. So the true self is doing the worksheet on the false self. And so I think that's still appropriate. Michael, you got input?
Can you read down to that point in the worksheet from step number 1 from the start?
Where read the description of it?
Yeah,
or,
just start from the top. I, Jeanie, who am love,
Okay.
or I.
Okay, so, got an echo there. All right, so let me go to the first worksheet where I do with myself. Let me get over to it. I think it's the third or fourth worksheet. I do several of them in there on myself.
Right.
And so the first one, well, okay, so the first one is, of course, from back in the second chapter, which is on who am I had gone through and listed, in my story, the different events that happened and the false beliefs about myself that I took on. And so this one is who am I? A lost soul. So I, Jeanie, who am love. Excuse me. My trigger is my carbon-based memory self. And I actually put the definition of CBM in there. And I put my initials. And the reality is, about 3 weeks after I filed for divorce, I received a phone call from a local physician stating that my husband, Kane, needed to see his doctor because he had been with someone who had a sexually transmitted disease. And then I go on and I say, I told him if he had given me anything, I would kill him. And I truly meant it. And so I was doing it on myself that, my feelings of rage and hatred and hopelessness. And the impulse was to punish by condemning myself. And because that was terrible to have murder thoughts on someone. And the goal was I wanted to be healthy because in this case, I was concerned that he had given me something. So I wanted to be
Right.
healthy so that I could live and be free of him. And then when I canceled the goal, I felt numb, and I see that in the situation, I was never truly lost. I was just confused and scared. I'm now willing to face and heal my fear. When did I violate that goal? By staying in an unhealthy situation for too long. I'm not reading the entire thing, but just
Right.
kind of giving
That's
you the
good.
highlights there.
Okay.
And
Got
so
it.
then to the new goal to my carbon-based memory self is I acknowledge us for creating truth and perfect love, and I choose to be gentle with myself as I use these tools and remove the fear and the hatred. It took 40 years of healing to reach the point where I could acknowledge that if I ran into him on the street, I would not harbor the same raw, hateful feelings. That doesn't mean I pardon him for his abusive behavior. I will, however, allow the space to consider what he might have gone through to end up where he was. And I asked myself, what was it in me that resonated him into my life?
Perfect. Yeah, my offering would be that, and you've heard me say this before, Susan, that you can do a worksheet on any person, place, thing, event, past, present, future, living or dead, including yourself. And in Aramaic, the false self is neighbor to the true self, the being. And so that the false self is harboring this information, and you want to forgive as to what that presentation is in the mind would be from the false self. So I think it would be appropriate, because what she's doing is dealing with things not caused by her former, certainly triggered into activity by her former, but now realizing there are energetic patterns in her false self that she wants to get rid of. And so my take would be that a worksheet on both objects of attention would be appropriate.
Both being
Being the fault, my own non-being self, realizing my non-being self is harboring these things. I'm going to forgive as to what my non-being self is holding. And then recognizing that this person has triggered those things of activity, I can also be doing worksheets on that individual as to what the component part they played in what I'm working to forgive in my false self. That generational pattern, that kind of deep resentment would be the sort of thing, as Jeanie talked about, that would draw in that type of relationship. That kind of unresolved energy would draw in that kind of relationship. And I want to forgive as to what I was holding on to, if that was me, long before I ever met that person. So my take would be it would be appropriate to do worksheets on both.
as separate worksheets.
As separate worksheets, yeah.
Okay, well, the only reason I'm fussing about this, obviously, Jeanie got her realizations. I mean, that's the purpose of the wake up sheet, is to heal thought processes and come back
Yes.
to. And I'm always keeping two sets of eyes on this. Jeannie's process is not in question. She did this worksheet, but I'm thinking about the absolutely cold call reader who steps in and is trying to sort out what's the difference between the carbon-based memory having feelings that were triggered by the STD threat. That was one of the triggers. Yes, these errant beliefs of not being important or being trash or whatever the horrible word would be,
Right.
those may be there from childhood, but this particular situation, so I'm talking about one of the two worksheets then,
Right.
the one that was triggered by what happened when she learned that her husband had been with somebody who was not well, and she might have caught this. That
Right.
looks like the most available, understandable, clear trigger. For
Right.
the sake of the fresh reader, I wanted to have it be the one that you taught, that something outside of you has triggered you. Something outside it isn't the cause, but you've been triggered by something outside. When you're
And the
working,
non-being self is relative to being. It's the being that's doing the worksheet. The non-being self is outside. It is a neighbor to the true self. And there are actually a whole variety of worksheets that could be added into this. A worksheet could be done where the object of attention is STDs. A worksheet could be done on the object of attention was that girl that he was with.
Yeah, sure. I get it. Yeah. So it's just that I'm editing a book for the general public, and I was trying to sort it so that the most clear presentation for the new reader, the new learner, would get it and not get kind of wrapped up in complications right at the beginning. So I would say go whatever you do. I honor whatever you're going to do, Jeanie and Michael. It's Michael, you're the genius behind the tools, and Jeanie, you're the doer of the wake up sheets. The book, my purpose is to make sure that book gets Jeannie's story and the tools out there as clearly as they can be. So Jeannie, whatever you send me as a final draft, I'll go with it, of course.
I got a question. So, Jeanie, have you determined who your audience base is that you're writing for?
Well, a big part of it, I think, is because when I was first starting to heal all of this.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the ladies that wrote the book, but one of the books that Michael actually got it for me, and I did the workbook while we were on a cruise ship, so I could stay focused on it,
Yeah.
But it was like that was the first book that I had gotten where these other women shared that they had been through very similar situations. And so it kind of gave me a comfort, I guess, knowing that I wasn't alone. But they didn't really offer tools other than, acknowledge it and you didn't do it and, that kind of thing. And so it was like, okay, I have used these tools now and I've been able to move through these issues. And there's probably half the population out there, men and women, who have gone through similar situations and they have no clue that they can see the end of the tunnel, much less get out of it.
Yeah,
And
and so I
so-
understand that. So I know, so what Susan's saying, so it all depends on the audience you're writing for. So are you writing it to an audience that has no understanding of spiritual work? Or are you writing to an audience that they're already on the plane of doing consciousness work? Because that's going to determine.
both, because I explain throughout, like if I
Yeah.
refer to any of the Aramaic terms like Rukha, then I put in parenthesis, Holy Spirit, or, so I do, or like if I say Yeshua, then I put in parenthesis Jesus,
Yeah.
so that people that aren't familiar with the Aramaic work, they get their common names or whatever, but yet I'm offering the true, this is his real name. You may know him as Jesus, but it's Yeshua. I don't say it in those words, but
Yeah.
so I do include throughout the book when I mention something, something to help clarify it.
Yeah. And so sometimes they have people you'll build the avatar of the ideal reader. The avatars, so their level of comprehension, you understand their level of spirituality, and then that's the audience that you're targeting. When you're writing, the book is geared to that particular audience and all the other people that come in. That's great. And so that might just be worthwhile to refine that. So when Susan's editing, she's knowing through which lens, if it's someone who's absolutely new with no information, then you're writing to a completely different audience than you're wearing someone who's been on the path already for a period of time. And yeah, I just note that for a minute for the clarity.
Gotcha.
And my take would be the audience. I mean, there is a limited audience for this work of forgiveness, and it's probably about 7.5 billion people. So
Yeah, and so, but then to what Susan's point, then, if you're looking at just the general population of 7.85 billion people, then the foundation of the structure of what you explain is going to have to be quite generalized if you're imagining that everybody's as green as grass.
Right. And the book
And-
is like,
and the question brings in that, and if one person, i.e. Susan, especially who's had so much experience with the work, has a question about it, then the explanation needs to be refined.
Yeah.
So that the new reader can have an opportunity to
Well, Michael, you just hit on it, I think. The fact that we can do a wake-up sheet on our own carbon-based memory, that's pretty sophisticated. But you're saying, yes, and I get that we can do that. But that you just split Jeannie's wake-up sheet into two of them, pick the other one, whatever trigger, STDs or husband or whatever. That's all I'm talking about is.
Well, I do in several, and perhaps I haven't in that one, and we'll go back and do that. But there's several of them where and like there's 15 worksheets in this
Yeah.
chapter, and a lot of them are on Cain, and a lot of them are on me, and a lot of them, so it varies.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of places where I put down, that this is my goal, and I'll say, and that's two separate worksheets, or these are my feelings, and those are each separate worksheets. So I do note that in there, but
That's true.
focus on the one that I'm working on at hand, because Because if I did one on every single one of those, then this one chapter
That would be a ton. It would be a ton. Well, Jeanie, your carbon-based memory, this is another question for both you and Michael. Have you been triggered by your carbon-based memory, your perceptions? Are you mad at yourself for having these perceptions?
Yes, like in the one that I just
Okay.
read, it was the event was, when the doctor called and everything and what he had done. But the worksheet I was working on was because, I had such hate that honestly, I think if I had come back from the doctor and I had something, I really could have killed him.
Yeah.
And to harbor that hate, if whether you're religious or not, it's like murder is murder, and that's a terrible thing. And so for me to
It's interesting.
that,
It's interesting the name you gave him, Jeanie. The
oh,
little
well,
Right.
I
murder.
did that when she had said I should give him a name instead of just referring to him as my former husband. And so I thought, okay, well, Cain was the first murderer. So
Yeah. But Jeanie, whatever your carbon-based memory is doing, you have been triggered by this news from the doctor.
right.
Michael
But
always brings us back to the external trigger, and so anyway, I probably just should drop the subject.
and I'm like the first, I think 4 or 5 worksheets are on him and the
Mhm.
abuse and the different things,
Yeah.
And but then when I got to this point, it was like, okay, I went through, who am I? I'm used goods. All these different thoughts.
Mm.
And then when I got to that, it was like, I harbor this awful hatred to the point of that I could have murdered him. And so, yeah, I was doing this one on me. And how can I have that kind of a strong emotion or thought, that's not like me? Even when I was in the midst of all that,
Mhm.
like there was one that I give the example in my story that, he had been gone for weeks and I don't remember where I got the gun, but I had a gun. And
Mm.
I heard somebody in the house and I went walking through the house with the gun in my hand, shaking like crazy. And then I realized if I ran into somebody, I would shoot them before I even looked to see who it was. And so
Mhm.
I gave the gun to my dad. It's like, here, put this up. I don't want it, because that potential was there. And it's like, I don't want to act on that.
So you're saying it was so extreme that this had nothing to do with the external trigger at all. This had to do with something Jeanie has been pushed to somewhere inside herself.
Yeah.
I know I'm pushing on this, but I
No, that's
really
fine.
care about presenting these tools. I have gone through inventing or creating wake up sheets that fit what I need and then using them. And so that's why, Michael, you have so many on you're gracious enough to say, hey, this is another take, like Magdalena's, so that I can, little clause, little
Right.
things. You're allowing those to be added for the sake of enriching and clarifying the tool. And my argument right from the beginning was somehow it's as if you've disowned the validity of the external trigger in favor of just saying, Jeanie must be really despicable that she would have murderous. Where did those come from? I must have them in myself. I really am a horrible person. I don't want you to do that to yourself, Jeanie.
But
Except that
doing
if
the
that's
wake up,
what's there, you want
yeah.
to tell yourself the truth. And while I do say, yes, let's look at the external trigger, you'll notice that then my next piece of conversation is, and now you've got 77 times 70 other worksheets to do around this issue to literally disassemble the whole complex of underlying unconscious unresolved thought disorders that ends up producing these qualities of reality, whether reality is a murderous inclination, whether the reality is simply to use vile language towards someone, or whether the reality is to go run and hide yourself. that each of those realities is another worksheet, and then within the context of, let's say, you do the worksheet on the external trigger, if there are four different emotions attached to that situation on the external trigger, then there are four different worksheets to be done on that external trigger.
Right, but the principle is the same, and it's very clear to me that no matter how ugly and complicated and Hydra-y it becomes, you're still dealing with a trigger from the outside which matches garbage inside, which is the carbon-based memory. Something was there that allowed that horrific emotion to come out. It's always the same configuration. And I felt as if Jeanie turned on herself by saying, my trigger is my carbon-based memory. My trigger is my false self, which has been living in me. It was almost like beating up on herself. And Jeanie tended to do that anyway. So I wanted to say, don't do that. Get that out.
I would see that the brain cells I see that through and hear that through is ownership of a part of myself that I've disowned. That, yeah, it's despicable.
Yeah. Okay. But
And if that's what's in my carbon-based memory, then, the reason why I say despicable things about myself is because I have that unresolved underlying thought disorder that I need to acknowledge and bring forward to be free of it. And once I've done my forgiveness work around that, then no longer do I say any despicable things about myself, because there's nothing left in me to do that until I've done that worksheet. Does that make sense?
It doesn't seem to go to where I'm trying to go. It's as if the shift goes away from the triggers into something that's a trigger, but it's a different type. All of a sudden we're in carbon-based memory and talking about that as the trigger. And that may be, it's just confusing for the novice taker of the new tool, to my mind.
Well,
It's no different. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add some more explanation where I say, throughout these wake up sheets, I sometimes refer to the CBM self as the object of attention. Maybe I'll just put more explanation there instead of changing the worksheets. Because in the ones that I am doing on myself, it is actually, something that's in me that, it needs to be changed. I'm trying to find the next one.
But something outside called that in you to
it brought
attention.
It to the surface, but
yeah,
whereas like Michael said, I could do another worksheet on what he did and, the STD and the girl that he was with and all that. But in this particular worksheet, I was working on being so violent and wanting to get, to the bottom of that.
That seems
next
no
one
different.
that I did on my carbon-based memory self was, who am I? I'm visionless. And I do it on myself. That, and here again, it was brought to my awareness through finding out, two different events where he had been with other women. And, they either came to me directly and told me, or I overheard them. And it was like, why was I so blind that I couldn't see, when all of this was going on? And I was frustrated, projected toward myself. And my goal was that I wanted to be wise and willing to see and to have a vision so that I could take responsibility and heal and change my creation. And when did I see my present awareness after I canceled the goal? I see that in the situation, I did have a dream for a better life and was already taking steps toward those changes. Yeah. Time was on my side, as was God. When did I violate that goal? I was already all that I was. I was already all that I was looking for. I was just looking with my physical eyes instead of inside of me.
Mhm.
And then I'm to the carbon-based memory self. I acknowledge us for creating truth and perfect love. I choose to believe in my true self and trust Rukha. I know that once my eyes were opened, I became absolute in moving forward. I only needed time to settle before pressing on and turning my dream of what could be into a real vision, taking responsibility and consciously creating a better, fulfilling life based in love.
Breathing
That
with
also,
you, sweetie.
yeah.
Sounds like that was moving something for you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to, beyond all this conversation, acknowledge you for is the work you've done, and that we
Huge.
have between us 1,000% integrity in terms of our relationship with each other, to the point where it's just absolute. So appreciating that.
Thank you.
And Miss Susan, I think they're awesome questions, and let's
Yeah.
keep digging
Mhm.
until we get to the answer that opens for Jeanie to see how to write it in a different way that makes it clear, and or opens a space where you can see it as and so it's an awesome interaction, and please keep it rocking.
Mhm. I plan to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course the question that comes in is there an issue, just the next level of it, is there an issue in your world where there's something that it might be beneficial to do a worksheet on your own carbon-based memory of something that's not been acknowledged in carbon-based memory that might break something else open for you?
I am sure that's true, Michael. And I've
Well,
been
then
looking at I've been looking at perfectionism because I don't have a lot of that. Most of my life, I'm not a great housewife. I don't dress carefully. I don't pay any attention to my hair, but I am fussing about Jeannie's book. And I fussed over other books too. So I'm watching that. I am.
And I appreciate
we
you. I really
it's
do.
awesome. Yeah, definitely. And I hope everybody has benefited from this conversation and refining your questions and your thoughts about forgiveness, and joining each and every one of you. We're coming into the season of celebration and heading into the new year. I hope your holy day yesterday was holy, and that the holy days coming up are truly that. It's interesting that our culture sort of changed the meaning of that word from what it was designed to be, to recognize our a space in which we celebrate and recognize our wholeness, to something where people go out and overeat and drink and do crazy things, that they truly are holy events and occasions for you, and that your new year coming up will be the best one yet of your eternal life, and joining you in that. Blessings. Thank you.